is still with us, chat. Will, are you heard?
Maybe. I couldn't tell you. I can hear me.
So in test recording, we had to shut down Streamlabs and kind of bring it back up. But it sounds like Will is working again now. We did some test recording. Will sounds like he's coming through just fine. So if anybody in chat is still hanging out with us, please make sure to let me know if you do not hear his audio throughout this. We'll make sure we figure those out as we go along. And I do apologize for the hiccups, but we're back. We are back.
Yeah. I'm also, Kev, you might hear an echo. I'm going to see.
I do hear an echo. Are you testing on your end?
Yeah. Just to see.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Wait. We are back. Yeah. Oh, solid.
It works.
It's a sweet baby voice.
That was so weird. But I'm so glad it's working. Nothing changed for the record. No settings have changed. I just shut down Streamlabs and then brought it back up. Hey, so I don't know what's going on, but we're back.
You can't unplug it. You hit it hard.
Oh, Lamp, thank you. Thank you for sticking around. We really appreciate it, guys. If anybody else is still around, thank you for hanging out and being patient. We are back, and we are going to be talking about some magic in today's podcast episode, or this evening's podcast episode. Yeah. The old classic. Yeah.
It's Will's podcast. I think. Am I wrong about that?
It's what?
This will also be a podcast, like from the app as well. Am I
yes, we should be able to get it back in the podcast app as well. Might have been a bit of an editing rocky start, but we'll figure that one out as we go. You know, it happens.
Fix it in post.
It's growing pains, right? Like we're starting back. We're starting fresh. Obviously, it has been quite a while since we have had a podcast episode since Will has been back on, as we were mentioning in the pre-show mess up, which some of you heard, some of you didn't. But
the tech rehearsal. Don't worry about it.
That's all it was.
And this is the last election.
But I'm really happy to be here. Will, I'm glad you're here. What are you drinking tonight? I think this needs to be a regular part of the show.
I'm finishing up the old Oktoberfest because we are in October now.
Classic.
Mr. Samuel Adams, but I have some bourbon on standby because it made me say good words with my boy mouth.
What kind of bourbon is it, out of curiosity?
It's Larceny bourbon.
Larceny bourbon.
So Larceny is my favorite. If you get somebody who's like not as familiar with bourbon v other whiskey, you could confuse them and make them think it's Scotch.
Have you done that to me?
No, I haven't.
I'd be really upset if you had.
Now, you would be able to tell because you drink Scotch like it's water, and I think if I poked you hard enough, Scotch would come out.
That's true.
There she is. It's Glenlivet. What?
No, actually. So it is Aberfeldy 12-year. It is a single malt Highland Scotch, which I absolutely love. The 15-year Aberfeldy is potentially the best Scotch I have ever had in terms of how smooth it is, but it is way too expensive to buy on a regular basis. I am not rich.
For super pricey whiskey. It doesn't have to be a rich man's juice anymore.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest is solid. Sam Adams. I mean, Oktoberfest is a style, but I like Sam's. It's great.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Well, Will, what are we going to talk about today?
Man, I don't know. How's it going?
How's it going?
I think we'll throw in some magic stuff if
they'll allow it.
If I have your permission.
Yeah, go for it. Well, before we jump into this, so the main topics here that we're going to be talking about is just kind of the state of the game overall. There's a lot of stuff obviously going on right now, a lot of things in standard that we want to really kind of touch on and just kind of mention, and then maybe some future projections, just estimated projections as we go through and things like that. But at the end of all of this, we do want to kind of open this up to anybody in the chat. Max and Lamp, I see you guys are here. A few people are hanging out with us. If you would like, please feel free to ask some questions along the way. We may not get to them right away, but I do want to dedicate some time to any questions that may come up towards the end of this episode. So that way we have a chance to answer your questions directly. It's the whole point of doing the podcast live, is that we have that opportunity. Secret layer drops. We can talk about the secret layer drops, Max. I see you. The new one is a point of contention, so we'll talk about that. But we'll leave some room for those kinds of questions as we get to the end. But really do appreciate you guys hanging out with us and everything. We are going to kick this off the very same way that we always have. which I love and I'm so excited about. But before we do, I just want to mention a huge thank you to the patrons directly. You guys really do keep things moving forward with us. And so I know a lot of people also support in other ways, and I want to thank everybody for doing that. But obviously, the patrons have a very direct way of supporting us. So a very huge special thank you to all of you guys out there. It really does mean a lot. And without that, I mean, certainly we couldn't be progressing as we are. So thank you.
If you're here tonight, awesome. What's up?
Yes.
Thank you. And if you are a patron, thank you very much. Et cetera, pander to the podcast audience as well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Why don't you want me that sweet card, big boy?
All right, so we're going to do our random card of the day. If you guys don't know, this was our traditional way of starting off the podcast, and I love bringing it back. Let's see what we get in 3, 2, 1. Wait for it. There it is. Pyretic Hunter. Wow, this is from Conspiracy Take the Crown, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a 0/0 for 4 and a red. As you draft it, note how many cards you've drafted this round, including Pyretic Hunter. So that's just that round. Menace, so it can't be blocked by unless it's by 2 or more creatures. And then it enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on it, where X is the highest number you noted for cards named Pyretic Hunter. What do you think?
I love it. I think it's great. Conspiracy in general was like a really fun, limited format with a lot of these funky, like, draft within the draft kind of games.
Yeah.
And I think this is cool. If you want to talk about, like, let's say, what do you think the highest number is you take this at? Because I have.
I mean, let's think this through. So I was thinking kind of the reverse. What's the minimum number you need to take this at to make it worthwhile? And I think the answer is like 4, because it has Menace.
I'm kind of with you. I'm around there also. I think a 3/3 with Menace is fine.
But a 4/4 with Menace, I feel like is great.
Also for 5. So like a 3/3 for 5 with Menace it's okay, but I'm thinking 4.
Yeah.
Like to really make it good.
Yeah.
It'll always have a solid body. Like,
I think this becomes too high value at 6 that, like, if you take it, if anybody leaves it in the pack past like 6, it's like, okay, what are you doing? Because clearly you're paying 5 mana for a 6/6 with Menace at that point. Like, that's stupid good. If you're just drafting, which by the way is kind of our threshold for looking at all these cards. And this is obviously very unique, as you mentioned, because it's Conspiracy, so it interacts with just the draft itself. But I mean, I think if you can get this between 4 and 6 minimum is like 4 would be minimum for me, but I think if you can get it anywhere past that, you are like golden. Like, this is just a huge, nice beater in red for sure.
I'm with you. I think if you want to reach, you can take it at 3.
Yeah,
but
I think you're pushing it.
I'm thinking like, all right, that's the last pack. I'm in red solidly. I need a body, and I don't want to let it go too much further. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think if you pass it at 3, it ever comes back to you.
I definitely don't think so.
So
yeah,
that's what I'm taking it.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, but I love it. I think it's a great card. It
is a great card. I really liked Conspiracy. That was a fun time.
Yeah,
they were really interesting sets. I kind of miss, like, they're doing different stuff now, like Jumpstart and things like that were kind of cool, but like, I don't know, something about Conspiracy really like worked in my opinion.
It was well thought out for a limited format.
Like
sets in general being good. Innistrad was great. Return to Ravnica was good. Like, there are good limited sets, but then the ones that add that extra flavor, like Conspiracy, really
so good. I just thought it was a cool take because obviously, and we'll get into the main like standard discussion in a second, but obviously they've tried a lot of things kind of in the Conspiracy realm since then, because we've had things like Battle Bond, we've had Jumpstart, we've had all these like but Battle Bond like kind of blew. Like, it wasn't very good.
It wasn't fun. Like, I think because Two-Headed Giant, right? I'm gonna compare it to Commander for a second. Commander was fan made and fan supported for the longest time, but then Wizards decided this is a great format, a great idea. Let's start making a product for it. And they did it. Two-Headed Giant in the same way was like fan created, fan supported, had nowhere near the same community.
Yeah.
Because it was definitely like you guys got together after an F&M and were like, oh, what do we want to do now? I have 2 hours. Let's play some Two-Headed Giant. Like, it wasn't like you might get together and play Two-Headed Giant, but not like Commander Nights, right?
Yeah, so, I think Two-Headed Giant works best at the kitchen table as just a kitchen table format. Don't try and make it it's not a bigger thing than you think it is. Like
Battle Bonds to me was ambitious. It was optimistic. It
was optimistic. I will say it did have some very cool cards in it.
Chase cards. Had some chase cards, but
yeah, absolutely. And I really liked just picking up some of the cards in the set, but it certainly as it was intended to be played, I don't know that very many people ever played it that way.
Yeah,
I know we talked about doing it, but we never did it.
Well, because we couldn't find it within ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Wasn't appealing.
It really wasn't very appealing. But anyway, we are here today to talk about the state of the game today. And there's a lot of stuff, particularly in Standard, that, of course, I think we should touch on, and we certainly will. Again, as questions arise, if you've got any questions or if you've got any points that you really want us to kind of go over, we'll certainly do our best to kind of pick those out as we go along. So please feel free to share those in chat. But I think the elephant in the room, or excuse me, the giant, big, scary elemental in the room, is Omnath, right? Like we've tried to deal with it, and how well did that not work?
Oh, what an interesting question. Did you try to deal with it? Because I feel like Wizards hasn't done anything.
Well, okay, let's just say they did ban Uro with the intent of its kind of slowing down, in particular the 4-color Omnath deck, but I think just Simic ramp decks in general. And certainly it did. Uro, fantastic card. Obviously, it's super powerful, but was it really enough to do even anything to the 4-color Omnath deck?
Well, let's see.
You had some stats.
Right. As I think my role last time I was on the podcast was to figure out numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Just because I'm not good with numbers mostly. No. But we have a little bit of data from post bans from Omnath. I think he's been banned or not. I'm sorry, Uro is banning.
Yeah.
It's been a couple days now. He got banned last week.
Yeah.
So there have been a couple online tournaments, a couple FNMs on MTGO, etc. There's an online qualifier, all that stuff. Omnath Ramp didn't take any of them. It should be noted.
Wow.
While it still is a commanding presence in the kind of meta pool,
yeah,
Omnath, the deck itself didn't perform exceptionally well. Because you got to think, if it's, as of recording this today, in a 2-week stretch, it's 42% of the meta, which is a crazy fucking number.
Oh, dude, that is insane.
I hope we swear on stream. I didn't read the room first, but I hope we do.
Let me know if you guys care in the chat, but don't for me. That'd be great. This is our one outlet, okay?
So in any standard format, 42% is kind of crazy. They talk about banning cards out of those decks around 40, north of 40%. Anytime you get close to 50 is too. It's like alarm bells are going off in
they've banned for a lot less. I mean, if we look at history, I mean, they've certainly banned for less than 40% before. So
it comes down to like, you want to balance fun. Wizard has said that tons of times. If it's a bad standard season in general, they want to fix those cards.
Yeah.
If there is a lack of diversity in the meta, they want to fix those too. They want to kind of change that around. So the last time I can think about that was Kev, you make energy and you tap it and a dude comes. What?
Was that Kaladesh?
Yes. What was that card?
What was that
Well,
card?
I'm not remembering it. You know
Oh
what it is.
gosh, it was Teamer Energy. Was the
Right.
deck, but I don't remember the card. But that was a terrible standard environment.
It's destroyed if I don't know. But for instance, that card, it didn't take over the meta necessarily,
Right.
but it dominated fun. It just took fun out of the game.
Yeah. Well, it
Because
took
if you
variance. I mean, an important piece of fun is enabling variance. It's not even necessarily to say that like we need to have X number of decks in the format, but we should have more than X number of decks in the format because of the format enabling variance. So like, and what I mean by that is like if we look at a standard environment where there are 4 decks, like 4 viable decks, and nothing else has surfaced in a series, say a 2 to 3 month period of time that can even come close. And now, really, that 2 to 3 month is shortened. I mean, as we're seeing because of all the online tournaments and things like that, you get data a lot quicker. But you look at a period of time, and you've only got 4 decks that are sitting at tier 1. That doesn't support variance. That doesn't support fun, and more importantly, that doesn't support people brewing with the cards in the standard environment. All of a sudden, now you've got this split where you've got up here the cards that matter in standard, which apparently are like less than 50 because of the number of 4 decks at the top of the format, and then you've got all the rest, and all the rest don't matter anymore, and it's all about those cards, and that's not fun. That is a fun factor taken out of the equation entirely because it's just all right. Well, here's what you play.
yeah.
And so there has to be a check for it, and that obviously is the ban list. But and this is kind of the catch-all, or the catch-22, I will say, is that on the backside of it, when you have to ban as many cards as there have had to be bans for in the last, say, year or two, we've been in a really bad position where it's just like ban after ban after ban, and we're in that position still. I think as we were getting new sets out, like Zendikar Rising, I think is a really important set for a lot of reasons, but I think what it marked was, okay, can we get out of this cycle of just banning all these cards? Because realistically, every set has had just so many bannings out of it, and it's ridiculous. Like, we shouldn't be in that position, especially when, not to call some people out here, but not when we have a play design team who is dedicated to not letting things like this happen. That's why they exist.
Yeah, to be fair. Okay, a couple things on that. Like,
sorry, ranting.
Point one. Not 100% if Wizards actually like takes what they say into consideration as hard as they want to say they do.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the man behind the curtain's doing, so I'm not 100% sure. Other thing is these are much older sets in terms of their design and inception than we actually get them.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, we are now just starting to get into the sets that were designed
2 years ago.
Right. And so if I think like, okay, 2 years ago, yes, there were a bunch of problems with standard. Yes. They banned a bunch of stuff out. I think we're like on the end of Amonkhet, right?
No, was it that far back?
Well, 2 years ago, around this time,
I'm gonna look up the set list as you go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that far back.
Just because I don't recall 2 years ago, because we've gotten like millions of sets every year. It feels like. I don't recall where we were at. Do what?
Real quick, I have a question for chat. Max, what did you mean about captain? Is captain the format? That's all I want to know. Is if Max, if you meant captain the format.
So we were in Dominaria, Ixalan, and then Amonkhet and Kaladesh were kind of back in that area too. So yes, you were right.
Had they rotated yet though? Because I think
I don't believe
they were about to go out.
They were about to go out.
Okay. So we had just kind of come off a round of bannings, if I'm not mistaken. Dominaria came in, and we thought we were going to fix a bunch of that. And I'm trying to remember what got banned out of that time frame. Regardless, the biggest change around then was Arena's popularity to me. I'm not thinking of another like touchstone Magic event in the last couple years, other than I guess Hall of Fame players getting thrown out of the Hall of Fame. Besides all that stuff, arenas kind of insurgence is the biggest thing. And we are now in 2020, this kind of time frame, getting sets that were designed with arena in mind. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So I think it's going to change a lot of how we have to think about the game, because arena was meant to be like easily accessible. Max says yes. So we're going to talk about Captain when we get to the end, the sort of AMA portion. Matt, fill Kevin in on Captain, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. What I was looking stuff up, so I completely missed what was being said there. My apologies, Max.
No, you're good. I'm going to keep rolling on that.
Yeah.
So arena's got to make it easier for a bunch of new players to play the game, right? And we talked about it in episodes past, how Magic kind of has to find a way to survive and bring a new player base in, because its numbers were kind of stagnating. Yeah. Tournament participation was lower. Sales were kind of the same, but you expect some sort of movement, and they were kind of anticipating a drop. The COVID and recession aside.
Yeah, this was pre-COVID and recession, I will say, too. I mean, you look at...
Yeah.
And I think part of that was just the fact that at that time, arena was kind of a new-ish thing, but it was getting to the point where it was more accessible for everybody. It wasn't just like stream key people being able to stream it, or excuse me, beta test it and all that stuff. But like we were getting to the point now where it was like, okay, here it is. It's still in progress, but go play it, go have fun with it. And I think that inherently there's a trade-off there when you're a business where you're saying, okay, I'm now leaning more into the virtual platform versus the, in paper platform. And not to say one is correct and one is not. I don't think that's the case. I think, to your point, Will, they do have to think of, we are a business. How are we going to survive in a predominantly virtual? I mean, virtual predominantly is the more successful platform right now because it is accessible. It's very easy to get your hands on, and you can go through and anybody can just sit down and play it, assuming you've got, a computer capable of running Arena, which let me just go ahead and say Arena is not all that hard to run on any computer. So
I strangely have like the kryptonite for I don't know what it is. I can't tell you how many resource packs I've downloaded, uninstalled, scrubbed, and find that the client is still broken.
Yeah.
So someone has cursed.
Someone has. Computer. You see a new computer. Anyway, all that to say though, there's an inherent, and I think Wizards isn't dumb. Like they knew, like, okay, we're trading some things off here. So if we're gonna be putting more money and more time into a virtual platform, naturally we're gonna lose out on some of the in-person events and things like that. And that started to show pre COVID and all that kind of stuff. Like before all that really hit, we were getting less and less numbers at GPs and at different kind of major events that we were normally getting really high numbers at. That people were reporting very diminishing numbers there. Like that was just how it was. And I think part of that comes with just the trade-off that they agreed to and that they signed up for when they started pushing Arena, and that's fine. I don't necessarily think that's a good or bad thing. I think it's just we're seeing now how the players are preferring to play, which is in some ways virtual. I think a lot of people would venture to guess that, if they were asked that question, would you rather play online or would you rather play in person? Like a ton of people would probably say in person, but in practice, you got to admit, it's just kind of easier to sit down on Arena and play some Magic at your leisure without having to rely on anybody else or any other. It's just easy.
Yeah.
And so, that it's not a perfect trade-off, but I think that we're getting to see some of that. And to your point, yeah, they are starting to develop sets that are more focused on that because that's their business plan. I mean, that's what they've been putting their time and effort into, and it shows. I think Arena's gotten much better over the last, 6 months to a year than we've ever seen it, and I think that's just part of their natural development of this platform. But I do think, paper Magic, is struggling a little bit, and so it's kind of interesting. That opens up a whole other conversation. But all that to say, sorry, I was kind of ranting there. All that to say, though, I think you're right. We're just now starting to see where the sets that were kind of designed with this in mind are starting to come out. And I think that's why Zendikar Rising felt so important to me, not only because this is kind of their redemption arc on Zendikar, because the first one was great, the second one was garbage.
Yeah, second one didn't do it for me.
It was bad.
I love it. I wasn't like a huge fan.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, it was fine for me. Magic is magic, and I like playing it.
Sure.
It was fine. It was fine.
I will say, unanimously, it seems like though it was pretty below average for what it could have been.
Hey, for sure. I mean,
and so this felt important in just the thematic and kind of storyline of the whole thing, that Zendikar had to be a good set for that reason. I would argue.
You mean for like Wizard redemption, or?
Well, for them to say, yeah, we're not going to fuck up Zendikar again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of that mentality. Because I kind of think they fucked up Zendikar the last time we were there. It wasn't great.
Got it.
It got some awesome cards, but that didn't make it good.
It had some really good cards in it.
Every set has awesome cards, as Battle Bond proves. But all of that to say, not only thematically did this have to be an important set, but I think this was kind of the benchmark that a lot of people were hoping, okay, we're going to get out of all this like standard banning stuff. It's been, they have said, as you mentioned, it's like a 2-year period where we're about 2 years behind of what they're actually developing. And so that's just kind of the standard timeline. So it's like, okay, it's been a while now. It's been enough time that we're starting to get out of those things. And I was just kind of hoping that, Omnath is kind of proving me wrong, but I was kind of hoping that we would be removed from that.
Well, yes, but there's always going to be like at least one card in a set that seems like it might be too much. I would I'd bring up that it doesn't look like Omnath decks are, just in the few days since it's been banned, doing as well without Uro. Which is interesting, right? Uro's a great card, but I don't. It's not the engine, right? I mean,
yeah, it's an enabler. Like, it's a good enabler, but it's not an engine.
Sure, it's probably the best card to do what the deck wants to do, but there are other ways.
Yeah.
But where was I had a direction. I'm trying to absorb it all, and I don't remember what I was going to bring up.
It's okay. I tangented really hard there. I'm so sorry. I was starting to talk about like how important Zendikar is as a plane and all this stuff.
Well, fuck the plane. It's just a really cool set, baby.
Yeah, dude.
Let's talk about it in general, because I would just like to. All I want to say is I think Magic is trending up in terms of arena and set design.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little bit more accessible, a little bit easier. And I think with it being easier, that means power level's probably going to start like bumping down a ways. We can kind of expect that. I mean, other than Omnath, there's nothing that's like super nasty out of Zendikar, in my opinion. Like, it's a fine limited format. So I don't know that the game is going to get broken if Omnath gets banned. I don't think there's another boogeyman, but I've been wrong many times before, so we'll see. But what did you think of the set in general? Chat, Kevin, anyone listening?
Yeah, chat, as we're talking about this, feel free to chime in. But I actually really like the set as a whole. I have thoroughly enjoyed the decks that I have tested at this point, which is not like an excessive amount by any means, but I have done a handful and I've really enjoyed them. It's a fun set to brew with because it seems like you're kind of spoiled for choice in some areas. Like, I did play around with a like Golgari counters list, like 1/1 counters kind of list. And just given everything in standard, whether that be pre-Zendikar Rising or new cards in Zendikar Rising, you've just got so many options. And it's like, okay, this is like, that's a fun place to be, because now all of a sudden, even if you do have a Golgari counters deck up against another Golgari counters deck, there could be a little more variance in the list that were not necessarily, I won't say not available in previous lists, because I certainly think decks were tooled out in different ways, but it just has some different directions that you can go, which I certainly enjoy. And as a whole, like the cards, I love that they did a few little arc backs to some different things, like Nighthawk Scavenger. I have to imagine is one of your favorite cards.
Yeah, it feels really cool.
Dude, it's really good too.
It's a great card. Vampire Nighthawk is a great card.
Yeah.
It's probably like pound for pound the best black beater there ever was.
Yeah.
I mean, for 3 mana, I challenge anyone to find a better card for 3 mana in black. It's fantastic.
Alex is here. Not to interrupt you, but Alex is hanging out with us. What's up, buddy? Welcome. You've been having fun with Cherix, Max? Yeah, dude. Absolutely. There's just so many cool cards in this. I love Grakma, just as a hint. I love Nissa. I think Nissa is very sweet. She's black now, like green-black, which is ridiculous.
It's really cool. She had like thematically, she's all depressed and whatnot, right?
Yeah, but like that's such a you wouldn't think they would put Nissa in black. That's just my only thing, and it's like, okay, cool, I like it.
Yeah, you green white probably.
Yeah, exactly. She's more of the righteous.
She's been green blue. So
yes, she has been green blue. That's correct.
I do think this is a weird direction for her, but like she kind of fits in that color buy.
Yeah.
Slice of color buy, I'd say. Yeah. Like she likes putting counters on things.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I also really like.
That's weird.
Sorry, what?
Kicker on a Planeswalker. That's odd. New Jace.
Yeah, New Jace. Mirror Maid.
Right.
That's a pretty sweet one. Nahiri is kind of like meh. It's a very, I think, semi-narrow card. But Nahiri kind of tends to be a bit narrow anyway, so like that's fine. I don't see that as a bad thing.
Which one blows up artifacts, and is it enchantments?
Yeah, I think it was the one that got labeled as the one that like pulls out big stuff from your deck, and I can't remember the name of it. But
right. Seemed pretty good.
Yeah, like it was a very good card, but it kind of goes in a deck, and that's fine. Like it makes that deck good, so that's cool. I think there was a bold call, which I like this call. And they kind of hint at like maybe there might be, a return of some things, but it was a bold call not to put Eldrazi in any capacity.
I was a little surprised.
I was too. So it makes, first of all, like in terms of the lore and the story that's going on, it does make sense because they left, like they're gone. But they're never truly gone. They live, for anybody that doesn't know how Eldrazi work, they live in the space between planes, and then they just go and like eat one, and then they go back to their little home, their hideout, and then they go and just do things. And it's like kind of strange. But they didn't really have anything. I mean, they do reference them. Alex is bringing that point up, and that's why I said that at the beginning. They do reference Ulamog in particular. But
flavor text or something,
there's like a card. It's like the Forsaken Monument thing or something like that. But
well, listen, until the Eldrazi squiggle their tentacles onto cardboard, they're not in the set. Like, it's cool that they're on a card, but here's the thing with Eldrazi. I think you have to make a set that's kind of designed for them, that they are the focus.
Yeah.
Or you don't put them in it.
Archon of Emeria. Does Archon also reference it? I mean, Emeria, but like, I don't know.
I feel like you don't get to do Eldrazi lazy, because like they are bad, kind of always. So I think if you're gonna put them in a set, you put them in a set all the way, and they're all over the spot. Because like if you want to stay true to your lore, you can't just flop plane eating monstrosities down and just be like, oh yeah, they're here, but don't worry about it.
Right.
And it would, well, let me not be political, but anyway, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm with you.
I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I think we like to see what would happen without them, because we get a lot more things. We get like a lot more chances. I mean, this new party mechanic is interesting.
I don't really care about the party mechanic, if I'm honest.
It's a good limited mechanic.
Yes,
and that's what
I agree with that.
It's a very cool limited mechanic. I think you can make some constructed decks with it, but they're going to be like low tier 2.
Yeah, I agree. Also, not to change the topic, but you've been frozen for like the last 5 minutes.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
My side profile, at least it's my good side.
Yeah, there you go. No, I agree. So let's talk about that really quick. So one of the big things, Alex thinks party is dope. Alex, it's okay. You've been wrong before. You're fine. No.
Party's cool.
I think it is a good limited mechanic. I agree in the constructed sense. It doesn't seem great. It's not that it's bad. It's just inherently relying on a lot of things. And I think in constructed, you can't really rely on a lot of things. In particular in this set, though, and the reason I say that is because...
Slap the no button on that one.
No. What I'm saying is, in this environment, in Zendikar Rising, I think what they did is kind of... And this, I think, as a whole, kind of arcs back to the original Zendikar a little bit better, is that this is kind of a, generally speaking, not in total, but generally speaking, a lot of the cards, because it's kind of like humans and rogues and like people like that versus the royal, which is like the elemental side. The elementals make up a relatively, not a small portion of the set, but like there's some really big elementals, and then like the rest of the set is generally like lower costed, more aggressive, like things like that. And so we're getting little hints back to like powerful low ground creatures that do some cool stuff. In response to that build, we've got things like the Blood Chief's removal spell, whatever it's called, that is like 1 mana, destroy target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less. Or we've got a lot of like easy early removal.
Blood Beckoning?
Is it Blood Beckoning?
Is that what you're thinking? It's a sorcery for 1?
Yes, and it has a kicker cost where you can up it for like 3.
My bad. What is it?
There's also like Vanquish the Weak, which is kind of a classic one, but like there's a lot of like lower ground removal that kind of answers a lot of those things, which makes party a little bit harder to maintain, like a high party count. The best 3 CDH decks make 2 party cards really good. For most formats, terrible. Yeah, Alex, I mean, that's fair. Like, CEDH, I kind of get. But, like, just in general, like, especially in Standard, which is kind of our focus today, like, I just don't think it's that powerful.
Yeah, it's a limited mechanic, and, like, you'll play with it in Commander because you can. Yeah. You can and you should. But, like, it's fun.
Sure. It arcs back to all those D&D nerds.
Again... pushes up glasses intently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like it.
What do you think about the lands, the flip lands?
I was waiting for this question.
I think they did a lot for a lot of reasons, but I want to hear what you think.
I fucking love it. I love it. We love it. So these lands, and for the next few sets, if they continue this mechanic, which I pray they do, if they this, they're going to be like the most neutered version you can get. Some of them you pay 3 life or they enter tapped. Some of them just enter tapped, period. Some do all, whatever, fuck it, that's fine. They are printing lands, unusable cards, so you will never get mana screwed again. Potentially. Wait. It will still happen. Like, until they really balance this out, it's going to happen a little bit.
Yeah.
There was a much simpler game. I'm going to pull back from my youth a little bit. There was a much simpler game that I played in, I think, middle school. Wow. Like, I'm 7th grade, maybe. Yeah. I played Magic too, but this other game existed. Maybe even before that. But it was called Duel Masters.
Oh, man, I remember Duel Masters.
Right, okay. So Wizards also had a hand in creating Duel Masters.
I don't know that I knew that.
I can't remember if they were Wizards company or if some designers from Magic. Like, I don't know if they were Wizards game or if designers from Magic designed Duel Masters for a different company. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I see you.
Either way, the mechanic it formatted almost the same way like Magic, in terms of like cards have a mana cost. You have to pay the mana cost to pay the card. You win differently, but that's not important. The important part was you could use every single card in your deck as mana.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it was. Generated the same amount of mana. You use it as mana. And what happened is you never lost a game really to chance. I'm simplifying it a lot. Obviously, you draw cards, but
and let me be clear in saying too that like I think what I like about this is that it's not to the extreme of Duel Masters like you're talking about, where it's every card is usable mana, but it does add that like, okay, there's a little bit less variance now. It takes those like deviating numbers and pulls those in a little bit, and so you're not getting quite so many like mana screwed situations or something like that. And so where I've been really like vocal about this is that this like redefined in particular really a lot of things, but I think it kind of redefined limited in a weird way, because limited has always been, when you draft, it's like, okay, 16, 17 lands, 17's the norm, and then the rest are spells. Well, now I think you still err on the side of like roughly those numbers, but you've got more flexibility there now. Like if you've got a few cards that are just lands on the backside, that's fine. Like you don't necessarily need to throw in all 17 basic lands to be able to fill that out now. You've got options. And so if you're choosing between like a 23rd and 24th good spell, maybe it's okay to go down to 16, assuming you've got a few of these flip lands in the deck. And so it's like, it's kind of redefining how we look at limited a little bit in that regard. And I think I watched LSV talk about this a little bit, and one thing that he kind of said is like err on the side of, and this was just as general advice, err on the side of sticking with the 17 lands and then still having the additional as like backups, because you want, ideally, if you're trying to play this card in your deck, if it's good enough to play in your deck, you want it for the spell side. But
if you have to use
it,
that's cyclers for me in a way.
Yeah, it's very similar. And so it's just adding that, as you said, it's taking away the variance and it's adding a little bit more of just the fun thing where you can't say, okay, well, I just got mana screwed every game. Instead, you can be like, well, I didn't hit the right cards, but I still had plays. And like, that makes people enjoy the game more, which means they're going to stick around longer, which means overall it's going to be a better experience. And so I love the land mechanic.
The smartest thing Hearthstone does is it doesn't add a wall of like unplayability. Like you will get an extra mana every turn up to a cap, no matter what. You don't have to cross your fingers and hope. I hate losing on the draw in general, but I especially hate losing on the draw when I have the right card and all I need is a fucking island. That's the worst. That's the worst way to lose.
I'm with you. And I think there's an inherent balance that needs to happen here to kind of rein this in just a slight bit, that Richard Garfield from day one of creating Magic said he wanted there to be a mix of skill and chance, because he wanted this to be similar to poker in that regard, where there's variance and there's chance that can dictate how the game plays out, but there's still the skill in how you play it and how you bluff or how you do whatever that makes it a skill game, not just a chance game. And I think
that, like,
sorry,
I don't think you would lose any of that if hypothetically all your cards can be used as mana. I don't think that's
I think it negates some of the chance, obviously, but I don't think I'm with you overall. But again, I think this is where this plays that line really, really well, where it adds the ability for that without making it 100% always all the time you've got all the lands you ever need. Because I think there's a risk, in deck building, you take a risk in Magic in particular, where you're saying, okay, I'm going to put high cost spells in my deck. That's an inherent risk. Like, you have chosen to put very high CMC cards in your deck. The risk and the chance of you not being able to play them is higher than someone who decided to put, a mono red list together with Goblin Guide.
Spells are expensive, though.
Do what?
That's not why spells are expensive, though. Spells are spells are expensive, so you can't rush out and take over the game quickly.
Well, yes. I mean, I agree with that, but I'm just saying that if you were trying to pack your deck with that kind of stuff, it's not going to work. And I think that's one of the clear things that you learn on day one of trying to play Magic is you can't just do that. And this just helps the not being able to get away with that kind of aspect of it is not a bad thing. I
don't think you get away with it, even if you have the mana to cast it on. If you have your big bomb on turn 7,
yeah,
I think the game could still either be won or lost. Before that point, the risk with putting high CMC cards in is it's taking a slot that it's not going to be a useful card for X amount of turns. Green as a color exists to make those cards useful before that turn, but
sure.
You're investing your earlier turns into playing this big thing out.
Yeah.
It's an investment. It's not to say you maybe won't get to play with this cool card. That's fucking bullshit.
No, but I think there's a chance. I think that you accept that chance that if you draw, in a mono green deck, if we're talking basic level, okay?
If you're mono green, you'll never get mana screwed.
No, I mean, you won't. But I'm just saying, okay, inherently, you've got, Llanowar Elves and then, some Craterhoof Behemoth. I don't know, some big-ass thing.
Sure.
So you've got, 4 copies of Craterhoof Behemoth in your deck because it's the big bomb, it's going to be the finisher and all that stuff. And you also have, a ton of Llanowar Elves and then, 24 lands. Average number of lands. Yeah, okay. 26 is not the correct number if you've got Llanowar Elf in your deck. Do what?
Is 24 the average, really?
24 is the starting point for most decks. It's not what you always go with, but yeah, that's normally the
good red-black decks a lot, so that doesn't...
Well, yeah, that's cheaper. Lower down.
Red-black with 20 lands, or I'm playing blue-white with 30.
Yeah. Well, my point though is that there is a risk that you accept when you build a deck like that, which is, and granted, the percentage of this is marginal at best. So I'm understanding that this is not the norm, but there is a risk that you open up that starting hand and now you've got, 3 forests, 4 forests, and then the rest are Craterhoof Behemoths. That's a possibility. And that's a variance chance that you have that as building the deck with that card. Otherwise that wouldn't be there.
I mean, but that doesn't you can only play one a turn. That doesn't change that fundamental rule. You don't just get to flop out 6 out of your 7 opening hand and play your 6 drop on turn 1.
Fair. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially because it levels the playing field for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Decks, I think, get stupid good. Okay, now hold on. That might be a problem. Maybe.
With the flexibility of lands there.
Well, because control decks have to pack lands because they need to play their things at the right time. So they don't want lands to be the thing that holds them back. I don't know. It's worth thinking about, especially in the control aspects.
Yeah.
It's such a different style of deck than your mid-range green, Craterhoof, blah. But the mechanic, well, I'm going to split up the arguments here. The mechanic is dope. I love the mechanic. Please keep trying it, Wizards.
Yeah.
Chef's Kiss, beautiful. I would love to just push it and see how crazy it would fucking get if every card would be a land card. Because here's the thing. I'm cool with them as the way they are. These are shitty lands, right? You'd never want to play all of them. I don't know that
there's a couple that I think are good. Well, in particular, the pathways, because they're either one land or the other, and they come into play untapped. They're just an inherent upside over a basic land.
Yeah. They're the either ors.
Yeah. And then I also think that some of the ones that are the pay 3 and they come into play untapped are worth it not because of the land side necessarily, but because of the, like, as a slot in your deck, you get the option on either side, and it helps you still play on curve. You still have that option.
Sure, yeah, the spell's good. The spell is cool. You can make a stupid bonkers 8-mana spell and print a land on the back, and I'm fine with it. But
yeah.
Things that are on these, I'm talking specifically the cards that are cards, like spell cards, permanent, or that are also lands.
Yeah.
I'm cool with those. Come in tapped, pay 3 life, like pay a life.
Yeah.
I don't know, make them pain lands. I don't know. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I do. I love it as well.
We had really good Magic players leave after competitive Innistrad day was because they felt that Magic was too random and they didn't want to lose to a top deck that just like sidelined them. Like, you know, I think that
Kibler comes to mind.
I mean, if you think even a year ago, LSV lost the like championship match because he mulled to 4 because he didn't have playable hands. He didn't have mana to play his shit. Like LSV might never lose again. Not that I'm advocating that, you know.
I mean, we are certainly leaning more towards the side of like you just have to be a much better player and not be lucky now. Like,
exactly.
And I like that. I'm with that.
You don't get to like, you don't just get to be a better player and like you can still draw a mountain.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna want a mountain over a fucking, I don't know, 2-mana bear that also happens to be a forest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you want your basic land that doesn't come in tapped and is just a land. And it's fetchable with land spells. Like, balance it, make it persuade the player to play lands also and play these good spells that are also lands.
Yeah.
Like, maybe make lands more fetchable. I don't know. Maybe bring back the like basic land fetches. You know what I'm talking, like Evolving Wilds and those.
Well, those are here
to make it better. I'm not saying I have the answer. I just think that
I'm with you.
This mechanic is very encouraging.
Yeah.
Magic might be saved. Ladies and gentlemen.
That's a statement if there's ever been one.
If you're trying to introduce a new player to the game, you take them to their first FNM and they lose their first match because they get mana screwed one game.
Yeah, that feels bad. We've all known somebody that's happened to also, and that's really sad.
You can't like just dims the brakes, bud. You'll get into it, I promise. Now, if they're like dedicated nerds like you and I, they're gonna keep playing, but that's not the norm.
No, it's not.
Like, especially if you're trying to grow a player base. Like, that's not how it happens.
Well, it makes it easier to get new people into the game, which is obviously what they want to do. So, like, this is just a good move all around, I think.
And there's going to be part of the community that's like, oh, no, it's always been this way. We have to get mana screwed.
Of course there is.
We have to get mana screwed. But, like, back in the day, you used to not have card limits in your deck. You used to be able to play 20 of a certain card. Like, back in the day, Black Lotus seemed like a good idea. Like, there's always going to be a past.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that the future has to be this way.
Yeah, exactly. Games evolve, and I think this is a pretty big step in that direction. So I'm excited by it. I love the mechanic. I do love Zendikar Rising as a whole. And other than Omnath, I will, to kind of sum things up slightly, because we are touching, we're getting close. We're kissing an hour here. But I do want to mention, like, just as a whole, I do have high hopes for. What'd you say?
What?
Your audio ducks every time I'm talking, so I don't get to hear you when you talk. If I'm talking.
Okay.
Just a heads up.
Don't worry about it. In that case. But if not, it was just for me, and it was amusing. So.
All that to say, I do have high hopes for the upcoming standard environment minus Omnath. I think that's my one hiccup.
I'm cool with an Omnath ban.
I really like Omnath though.
Play him in Commander then. You still get to play him.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying it's a cool card.
Oh, it's a great card. It's a dope card.
It's landfall that evolves, which is really interesting. Like with each land per turn, that's just a cool take on landfall. That's all. Like I thought that was clever.
I mean, landfall in general is a solid mechanic, but that is, yeah, it's stupid good.
All right, guys. Before we do our AMA, we're gonna open a collector's pack. If anybody has some questions in the chat, now is your time to share them. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll answer a few questions that have come up in the chat already, but in the meantime, let's open a collector's pack because, dude, these packs are sweet. All right, we've got. I don't think this is gonna focus very well, but we're gonna try it. Is it focusing? No. Ah, there it is. Chilling Trap. All right, we've got this because I can't see it. We need to work on this setup, and it's fine. Everything is fine. Let's get through these not very exciting cards because, let's be honest, nobody cares about these. This is the removal spell I was talking about, by the way.
Yeah, okay. My bad.
Beautiful. Full Art Plains. Oh, nice. Roiling Vortex. That's a cool card. The Maul. Foil. Whatever the F this is, because it's uncommon and I don't care. Oh, Ruin Crab. Yes. Mill Crabs. Beautiful Full Art Pathway land. Whoop. Dropped a card. It's fine. Everything's fine. The extended art. The token. And then this was the card that dropped, which is so not important. It's an uncommon. It's a common, excuse me. It's not even an uncommon. We'll figure out a better setup for that because that was terrible.
What was the rare?
Well, it's a collector's pack, so there are multiple.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I zoned out, obviously, when you said collector's pack.
All right. Crawling Barrens, the Pathway Land was a rare, Maul, and then Roiling Vortex. So there were 4.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Isn't it?
Good time.
Lamp, yeah, F&M is Friday Night Magic. Thank you, Max, for sharing. That's just a really nice way for each week for Magic players to get together at their local game store in person and hang out and play some Magic. It's a fun time. You can win some packs, things like that. I don't know how many stores are really doing much of that right now.
It's coming back.
Good.
There we go. Thanks. North Carolina is in its later phases of reopening and uncoviding itself.
Yeah.
So F&Ms are coming back, restaurants are coming back, bars are coming back slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I've stretched webcam to its limits.
You really have. Let's see. Some other questions we had. Oh, Secret Lair. Max, you mentioned Secret Lair. Yeah, so the latest one's The Walking Dead.
I know someone on that show. Funny enough, I used to act with them.
I also know somebody on that show, funny enough. As an extra, though, they are not a norm.
This one's a named character.
Really?
And I'm not going to dox anybody.
Nice.
But it's one of Negan's wives. I'll just say that. But I used to act with them back in the day.
That's cool.
And they're a lovely person. It's a cool show, but I stopped watching before I came in. I think I watched the first 2 seasons and I was like, it's a zombie show. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm kind of with it.
A zombie guy, so
a lot of people are like really not into this Walking Dead Secret Lair in particular.
It's weird.
It feels weird to me. It feels like the My Little Pony cards that they did. It's like, why?
I don't bring those up.
Do what?
I don't want to bring those up. I don't want the face.
It just feels weird. It's like, if you're doing premium, like very rare versions of already pre-existing cards that are like usable in any way, that's one thing. But if you're like making completely unusable cards, like, where are you gonna put Negan?
Yeah, like, it's a cool proxy.
Sure.
But like, or a cool fan card, but
I think they're kind of silly.
I just think it's kind of lame to take the slot of cards that, if they were playable, okay, in some format, cool. Are they technically playable in Vintage?
I guess, but like,
because that's everything.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much everything, but like
I don't think they would be because it's not in a like a set,
I mean, I
right?
think, well, I don't know. I don't want to speculate and be wrong on that one because I'm not 100% sure. If anybody knows in the chat, feel free to share. But, like, they're not going to get used at vintage. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
Oh, I mean, vintage is set in stone pretty much.
I mean, you're looking at, like, here's a card that is playable on the kitchen table that is too rare to play on the kitchen table. So what's the point? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm not into it.
I don't like it.
So
I'm all for cross promotion, but like this seems like a bad way to do it. We've already seen in Ikoria that they can do the like they've got the thing where it's like the actual card name, and then they've got a premium version where they've made some Godzilla reference.
Mothra, etc. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Do that. Like that's fine. Like why wouldn't you do that? But whatever. Seems kind of silly to me, to be honest. Max, also you asked about Captain. What the Captain thing? Fill me in.
I'm pretty sure you'll have to correct me. I'm pretty sure Captain is like 60 card commander plus a bit extra rules. Hold on.
I know very little about Captain, Max. I apologize.
It is like, I'll need a refresh.
Is it like a revival of Tiny Leaders?
No, because Tiny Leaders had to be 3 or less, right?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like it ain't like that.
I mean, Tiny Leaders failed pretty quickly.
Well, what's cool about Magic is there's a bunch of different ways to play. Like,
yeah, and
chaos.
I say it failed as in like as a format that you would see at any major thing. Not that it's not a competitive format. Tiny Leaders wasn't. But like it doesn't mean you can't play it at your kitchen table with friends. So it doesn't mean that it's like failed as in gone forever. It just means that it's not like a widely spread format.
Kind of like Frontier, right? Like
Frontier. God, what a not great endeavor that was.
It was just too soon, right?
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think too we've got an issue where like not an issue so to speak, but just there is a point to be made for like a new format comes out. Fine. If it's viable online, which I mean technically every format is, then it's gonna get solved, quote unquote, relatively quickly because now everybody and their mother can figure it out. Like you've got the access. And I think that's just inherently the thing that you take on when you make such a prominent virtual kind of format, but it's just what it is.
Max, okay. Not just 60 cards. I was under the impression was as well.
Oh, it's Commander, but without the community. Oh, or without the committee, excuse me. So this is just like the big FU to the Commander committee? Is that it?
Maybe so. I don't know. I had thought there were more deck restrictions, but I could be wrong.
Lamp, why hasn't Commander come to Arena? Good question. The reality is it's a huge card pool.
Yeah, it is a giant card pool. I think that you'd have to think about like how are players on Arena going to get those cards, because the majority of them obviously aren't standard legal, or even historic legal, like they go back forever. It's all the same rules. Oh, well, damn.
Max, you are enlightening me. Very interesting. It is just a giant FU to the Commander committee. That is a whole new thing. I will be honest and say that I just didn't know that happened. So I'm intrigued by this. I don't have a strong opinion on it though, Max, obviously, if I haven't heard about it yet. So I will do some research. Maybe we can talk about that in the next one.
I kind of
like it.
Well, I'll say this. I kind of like the bans that the committee has made. For the most part. Like, I think they could ban other cards as well, but
I think there have been some not questionable as in bad bans, but just like kind of off the wall bans. But overall, I think I agree with them. But I like the fact that like Commander's always been a thing where people kind of because it's more of a generally it's more of just a fun format. It's like a friend group format. I've found that a lot of people have their own ban list anyway, because it either does or doesn't apply to them based on what's already on the ban list. So it's like people just kind of do what they want. It's sort of like having proxies in your deck. Like some people let you and some people don't, but competitive Magic doesn't. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of similar.
I'm with you. I think like friend groups and different gaming groups can all kind of dictate their own rules. It's nice to have a kind of like a groundwork of we know what is and isn't legal. Be that as it may, if you want to do like some fun, whatever, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But I do think that the community are pretty much on point. Like Brand, obviously, that's banned. That's a good reason to get banned. Yeah. Who's the bug fella? The one that you don't get to draw anymore?
Leovold.
I don't remember his name. Yeah, Leovold. Leovold's thing is out. Leovold himself is out. Like, is Sol Ring still in?
Yes, right? Sol Ring is still in.
That's not bad.
No.
So like, there's one that I'm like, maybe you could probably make Sol Ring. That's like my one. When do new commanders get printed? I have played Commander once and am newish in comparison to the game. So, well, what's fun about Commander is you can use any legendary creature as your commander. For one, so in every new set, any legendary creature. Every new set could have your new commander in it. There's also supplemental commander-specific products that get printed, like Commander and year, like Commander 2019, 2020, etc. So I think it's been once a year for a while. I think just a few years, but that's not always been the case. So that is subject to change. Yeah, you can use any commander or any legendary creature. So,
and Lamp, to answer your initial question a little bit more in detail, because we kind of touched on it and then moved back into Captain a little bit, but to kind of brush on that a bit more, the part of the reason that we don't get Commander as a format as a whole on Arena, we mentioned that it's just there's a lot of cards, and what that translates to is time and effort that they have to put into, first of all, putting the cards in Arena, which is that would be the entire card pool essentially of Magic, which if you don't know is some like tens of thousands of cards I believe we're at. I don't think we're at hundreds of thousands yet, but I may be wrong.
Count different art, you're up there.
Yeah,
but and I guess you might have to. Well, you wouldn't have to.
You wouldn't have to. Wizards. That's just a skin retouch, so that's easier. But that's a lot of cards that they have to then throw into a system that's not really ready for it yet. But not only that, they also, as Will kind of touched on, have to figure out how to get that to everybody. Because it's all great to say, well, let's put the cards in Arena, but then how do you actually, you can't just give them to people, because then there's no incentive for them to make money off of it. But also like there's nothing there. And so they have to figure that out. And that's why I would argue that's why we've seen a lot of like kind of not great formats pop up, where it's like they're trying to define a reason to give people cards by saying like, here's some Pioneer stuff and here's some Frontier stuff. And it's like, that doesn't matter. Historic, I will say, though, is the one that seems to be sticking around pretty well. And that card pool obviously grows consistently. It's essentially just the things that are on Arena, and then they're adding backstocked sets to it. So we just had Amonkhet remastered. Kaladesh remastered is going to be coming out. Like, there's stuff that's being added there. So they are kind of backstocking. It takes time. That's the big thing for it. And so as we backstock, we may find that new formats are kind of brought back. I mean, heck, the eventually we could theoretically get back to where Modern could actually be played on Arena in a relatively foreseeable future, but I think even that will take plenty of time. So I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, honestly. It's kind of a bummer where Modern is going, which is to say nowhere. kind of stinks because I thought Modern was probably the most fun until Pioneer came around.
Agreed.
But I mean, that's fine. I don't know if it'll ever be on Arena. I kind of doubt that Modern
I don't
will be on
think it will, to be honest, but
I can tell you Commander won't ever be on Arena.
No.
Which is a bummer.
At least not in the same capacity that it is in paper. I think we could have like a Commander Light, insert better name here, but I think that there's because it's a popular format, I have to imagine that somebody at Wizards has said, "Hey, what if we had Commander on Arena?" or something like it on Arena.
I mean, there could be like a redheaded stepchild Commander on Arena, sure.
That's kind of what, yeah, I mean.
Try something like that. There is an event, right, on Arena?
Yeah, there've been a lot of interesting events. So if you haven't been on Arena for very long, there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, Momir Basic is one that I think is really fun. They do have a Arena cube that comes through every once in a while and things like that. I mean, they do subtle like try stuff kind of formats, and I think based on those is where they're getting a lot of like, okay, a lot of people really like this, you know, short-term, short-lived kind of format that we created and tried out. Maybe that's an area where we need to go further. I mean, if I'm Wizards and I'm running a business, I would think I would look at that data and think, okay, maybe there's something here. But I don't know how seriously they're considering that. I just think that those are nice little test areas where they can very easily say, okay, well, X amount of our player base actually did try this at least once, and so many of them stuck around. Like there's data there that they could do some stuff with, but I don't know. I have to imagine that they're gonna try and emulate some things on Arena that they are not currently doing that I think would be helpful, but I don't know about Commander. I think that's a tough one.
Yeah, Arena will always change and get better. Yeah. Sure. Unfortunately, not Commander, which is a bummer.
Yeah, not pure Commander at the very least, but that's okay. Well, as we're finishing things up here, are there any other questions that you guys would like to ask? As we're waiting, I just want to say a huge thank you for sticking around. A few of you guys have been here the entire time, which is amazing. Alex, I appreciate you hanging out, but of course, Max and Lamp, great to see you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for the questions as well. Just a heads up, we are going to be trying to kind of bring this back on a regular basis. Schedules are a little bit tricky, but we're doing the best we can to make this a regular thing. We'll keep you guys posted as we learn more and as we do a little bit more. But again, just a huge thank you for hanging out with us. And again, for anybody watching this over on YouTube after the fact, thank you to the patrons for hanging out with us. We certainly appreciate it and making this possible. So we will continue to make improvements as Magic continues to make improvements to their game. That was a great analogy.
Sorry, I'm good with words. No, my Discord pinged at me, and then I was looking through my other notifications, and I just saw that I hadn't responded to a message for a fucking year.
Oh, good Lord.
So I was like, whoa.
Well, a few really quick, one little tidbit of info that I also want to throw out there for you guys. One thing that we recently released on our store is a brand new proxy featuring art from one of our community members, Lady Ziggy.
Whoa,
dude, she did a phenomenal job with Lord Windgrace. I just want to encourage you guys to at least check that out. I'm not asking anybody to spend an exorbitant amount of money on this, but I just want to throw it out there that it is available there for purchase if you would like on our website at itresolvesmtg.com. You can pick one up. You can pick multiples up. We've got 100 copies in stock for you guys. We did have our first purchase of that today, so I'll be sending that out soon. But thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for hanging out. And I think we're going to go ahead and end this stream. Will, thank you so much, man.
Hey, it's been good getting back in the swing of things.
We got to do this every week.
Yeah, we should. I haven't podcasted forever, obviously.
We'll get better at it. We'll suck less next time.
It's also, I like the live format. Maybe we do live.
I really like the live format. It's fun to hang out with people, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's cool, guys.
You guys are awesome.
We're a team now. We're a family.
We're a family. We did it.
Don't steal my thing. Don't take my pieces. Yeah, I don't have anything much else to offer. You want to do the post-show?
Talk about anything?
Yeah, we always do that.
Yeah, I want to talk about something as people are leaving now. But I want to talk about so as some of you guys know, if you've tuned into the stream and things like that, I'm getting married in like a year.
Oh, so what? Congrats!
Like you didn't know. You're the best man, Will. Yeah, woo. Anyway.
Damn, I lost a bet. Hold on.
So we've been in wedding planning mode, my fiance and I. And so I want to mention my experience of trying cake today because we got a cake testing box. Yeah, this has nothing to do with magic.
No. It's just interesting. Keep going. Yeah.
I didn't know that this was a thing. First of all, I don't know how this works. I'm going with the flow. She has a vision in her head. I'm here to support the vision, is my mindset.
Yeah.
So she has an idea for a cake. It's a beautiful cake. She showed me pictures. It looks great. I'd love to see that. And so she reached out to some people and we got some stuff in. And so they were testing. They were like, here, we've got a few options for you. I know you want this, but just in case you decide on something else, I want to give you guys some options. And so they gave us a little box. We drove up like 30 minutes away, picked up the box, hung out in that town for a little bit, and then came back. So we got back and we immediately sat down and tried this cake. I am not a cake person. Let me be very clear. Pie, amazing. Cake, okay. Little unexciting to me. Generally speaking, I would rather eat a lot of other things than cake. I tried this cake. Holy shit, was it delightful.
Hold on. Just pump those brakes a second there, bud.
Yeah, what's up?
What are some foods you'd rather have than cake?
Well, pie. I'm thinking, okay, desserts. I would rather have pie. I would rather have ice cream.
Than cake?
Yeah.
You don't realize there's an ice cream cake.
I do. I love ice. Okay, for the record, you make a good point. I love ice cream cake. I just don't really like cake as it's just sugary bread. Like it's
yes,
which is fine. It's not bad. I don't hate it.
You don't overthink it. Those are two good things.
Yes, no, I agree. But it's just not. In practice, it doesn't taste as good to me as a lot of other desserts. It's okay if it does to you. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you. What?
How are you eating your cake that it doesn't taste good?
Like with a fork?
Then I don't know how you fucked it up.
I'm just saying, it's not all that exciting to me. It's not my favorite dessert.
Exciting. We put candles in it to make it exciting.
Yeah,
cake on its own.
Anyway.
Beautiful.
Ice cream wedding cake, Max? Dude, I tried. Max, I really tried.
What's tricky? Kevin, I'm just giving you shit for the sake of it because it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
The problem, Max, with an ice cream wedding cake is that the cake is prominent where you're eating. And so, like, if you have an ice cream cake sitting out for a long time, you have cake soup, which is problematic.
Yeah, it doesn't work very well. I wish, though, Max. I really did try for a wedding or an ice cream cake.
Alaska.
Sorry, what?
If you got married in Alaska, you wouldn't have that problem.
That's true, but then you wouldn't come.
How do you know that?
Dude, you have a baby to take care of. You're going to fly to Alaska?
Yeah, she'd have to stay here. I get a vacation from potty training.
What would Sarah do?
Leave her with her mom. Come with me.
Okay.
She'd have to.
I also want to talk about disc golf this weekend, to change the subject.
Oh, that as well. Yeah,
because our couples, my fiance and I, Caitlin and I, and you and Sarah, we all went and played disc golf, and we had a great time. And I haven't told you yet. Afterwards, Caitlin and I went to go pick up some new discs.
Nice.
I got a Champion Mako 3.
Espresso cake.
An espresso cake? What?
I do want to talk about your discs.
That sounds delightful.
Mine was just like Fuck, what was mine?
Ours is a white cake with
Yeah.
white icing.
I think that's all we had was like just a vanilla, just
Yeah.
a regular cake. Just
We're gonna have like flowers on it, but like that's it.
you're gonna design it. Kev,
I'm
I gave
not designing. Hold on.
after he got engaged and Max as a married person. I'm assuming you are a husband. You could be a wife. So I am assuming. Correct me if you'd like, but from my experience, the best advice that I think I could part to Kevin was when you're wedding planning, she's going to have a lot of opinions, especially if she's doing it. She's going to care a lot. She's also going to be super stressed out. So you got to be there to help her and support her. If you don't have an opinion about something, just shut the fuck up about it. But if she asks for your opinion, have an opinion.
Have one. I remember that advice.
Good. You want two things. It will help her make her decision, which is the primary. And two, it will like you care more than you might.
That
about
is relatively true. Yeah, I found that to be relatively true. I like to think, again, this is my one-sided perspective. You can ask Caitlin next time she's on the podcast. Ha, never, bitches. She's not coming on this podcast. She would hate this. I dipped out for a minute. What did I miss? Nothing. We're just rambling, Lamp, about wedding and stuff.
And
well, but yeah, so I like to think I've been relatively supportive in this process. Yeah. That being said, I will. Anybody asks me, she's not here to hear this. She's probably asleep right now. I promise you, she is doing like 95% of the work. And I feel bad about it. But at the same time, I have been there to say, look, do you need me to call this person? Because clearly they're not answering you. I got this. That happened earlier this weekend when somebody wasn't our catering company, the one that we're planning to go with. They were not. She called them 3 weeks ago. They said they were going to have a quote by the end of the week. They didn't have the quote to her. She had called back twice, gotten the same like kind of bullshitty response. I was like, hey, babe. Babe, I got this.
Fuck them. Go else. Fuck them.
Well, they're like actually really, really nice. That she got a bad person who I don't think is actually working there anymore. There's a whole situation behind the scenes that's been going on. But anyway, I called them and I was like, hey man, like I understand you guys are probably pretty busy. They're a catering company. What could they be busy for at the moment? Everybody's in COVID. But anyway, I was like, hey.
Coming out of COVID, so.
Well, I was like, hey, just a question. My fiance called a few weeks back. She hasn't gotten a response yet. She said she was going to get one by the end of the week. We're trying to budget here. I just want to make sure that we got something in the works. Got the nicest guy. He was like, man, I am so sorry that you had to call, which was a great response.
Sure.
And he was like, I'm so sorry. I will have something to you within the hour. 30 minutes later, we get a quote.
Yeah, solid.
Got it.
Answer, man.
I'm just saying, I am the support. That is my role. I've accepted it. I have opinions on some things.
Legends main next, then. Why don't we?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Evan doesn't know what that is.
So anyway, back to disc golf. We got new discs.
Good on you.
Champion Mako 3 as a mid-range.
Okay.
Just to try it out. I have the Anchor, but I thought I'd try something a bit different.
Mako is a very straight flyer.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And so I'm excited to try that out. I told you I had a Star Strike, and I really loved the Strike.
And you pitched it.
And I pitched it into a lake. But we went to the Play It Again games and they had a Strike. And so I was like, perfect. I'll just get a new one. It's fine. It was a nice Star Strike. Like, that was great. And then I saw they had like a box on the counter. Yeah. And it was Halo. Premium Halo. Limit 1 per customer.
Huh?
It was a Halo Strike.
What do you mean a halo stripe?
So it's got like the plastic is still the Star Premium plastic. It's the same. This
Uh-huh.
just looks cooler, but it's
Oh,
essentially it's like marbled around the edge. So it's like a lighter green in the center, and then on the
okay.
outside it's got like a dark green that's marbled inward, and it looks really really cool. And that's it.
Okay.
And so I bought it. I was like, this is it. This is the disc for me. I also found out for every 10 discs you buy, you get a free one.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Didn't know
Did you
that. Did I buy what? Sorry.
buy a harp like I told you to?
No, I didn't buy a harp. Wait, what is a harp? I forgot what that is.
A harp is, if anybody plays disc golf, you already would have chimed in by now, actually. Never mind.
This doesn't
Uh,
apply to anybody here, so we're going to keep talking about it.
a harp is like the best disc I own. It's a putter. It's a
Okay.
speed 4 putter. It's
Oh.
the putter you flicked on the upshot that I was like, hey, throw this one.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
a nice bead so you can flick it.
Yeah.
It's very overstable so you can backhand it reliably. It goes exactly where you want it to go pretty much all the time.
I like
Uh,
that.
Speed 4, which is like your slower end mid-range discs.
Yeah.
And it's a flat top, so you can drive it.
Okay,
Uh,
so here's my thing because I looked through my regular setup. Okay.
yeah,
Because I've got a bunch of like excess discs that I've either found or you've given me or things like that. For
yeah.
anybody that doesn't know, Will got me into this like 2 years ago, and this is my life now. But anyway, I've been looking. So
Into our disc golf podcast.
yeah, yeah, this
It's
is it now.
called um, you disc.
I was
Disc.
thinking disc dudes or something stupid like that.
Trying to make a dick joke.
It didn't work. Anyway, so I looked through. I've got like for mid range. Okay, I've got a night. I love that anchor that I've been using. I really like that, and I also have the new Mako 3, which I'm excited to try because I haven't tried it yet. Um,
Good.
I
That's the one.
also on drivers. I've
Yeah.
got a Star Destroyer, which I love. I've got the new Strike, which I'm excited to try, and I also have a Wraith as like just options. Like I've got plenty of others, but those are my main options. I looked at
Sure.
my putter options. I
You just
just
have
have
the
like DX Colt and like like just the basic like you get it in a 3-pack putter.
dude. You don't need. There have been like 10 different AVR molds, I think, over the years, and
Yeah.
that's counting like they're different plastics. You don't need to deviate from the AVR, and like any besides Innova, any other disc golf brand is going to have a putter that is essentially an AVR. It's
Yeah.
got the same flight specs, basically the same rim. It's going to be the same.
Yeah.
Just throw an AVR,
Okay.
like to putt with. I putt with an AVR. So my putting putter spot, I have 2 AVRs technically. Then a P2, which is Discmania's AVR clone, that I wanted to try it because my favorite disc golfers are Discmania players. So I wanted to try P2. It's a very good putter. It's a little bit flatter than the AVR, but the flight's back the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Flies a little straighter if I throw it on an upshot, but whatever. And then I throw a Judge, and a Judge is Dynamic Discs AVR clone.
Okay.
And its bead is just a little bit different. So like putters, all about comfort. You're not really gonna, because you don't really care what it does when you throw it, because ideally you only throw it 30 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't have to be a sexy disc.
No, I'm with you.
The only reason the harp is so good is because you don't putt with it.
Yeah.
You can't. That's why it's so nice. You can putt with the harp.
It's a flexible kind of disc.
Right.
You can use it for a lot. Well, so the other day when we played, I putted with the anchor the whole time.
Yeah.
I didn't take out a putter. I was using the Star Destroyer for my driver. I would drive all the way there, and like on the open, like not tree heavy holes, I was getting right on it. Like I was 15 feet away, 20 feet away almost every time, and I felt great about it. Except there was one in particular that didn't go well.
Putt with a baby at that range.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Those are the things I wanted to talk about. That's it.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's all I got. How should I respond to this Discord message that's been sitting here for a year?
What is it?
Um,
Let's decide as a chat community. Whoever's still here, if you are still here, you shouldn't be, but welcome.
Hey bro, I saw I couldn't message you on Facebook and figured you deleted it or something. Just wanted to see how you like Throne of Eldraine. I've been enjoying it a lot. Hopefully you didn't block me for some reason. LOL.
Who is this?
It's my friend I went to high school with, and I didn't block him. I legitimately deleted my Facebook.
Yeah, you don't have Facebook.
Yeah, I deleted my Facebook and I deleted my Discord evidently at some point. This has been in here since October 5th of 2019.
Dude, that is... Yeah. You should respond tomorrow, be like, hey man, just saw this.
1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary. Please just be like, dude, Throne is awesome. I hope you're enjoying it. Have you seen the new set, Ikoria? On that successful joke, I think we should end the podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
Guys, again, thank you so much. Oh, we're getting a lot of options here.
No idea how old it is.
Max, I love the suggestion. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Like I said, we're going to try and make this our regular weekly thing. I don't know that we'll succeed, but we will certainly do our best. If you're not in the Discord, which I believe all of you guys are, you will see a message there every time we go up. I did put one in right before we jumped on today. So please make sure to check that in the live streams channel if you would like to make sure that you're up to date on these. But thank you guys again. I really do appreciate you hanging out. And Will, it's good to be back, man.
It is, man. It's freaking great to be back.
It's awesome.